I think people that live here can still appreciate being taken the piss out of it just a little bit. First off, how did you become involved with this movie?
Okay, it's a little complicated. I got seduced into doing it. Let me explain. In 1990... Okay? Yeah. In 1990, I was living in London with my family. I'd been working in British television for about 20 years. And I frequently came across to shoot in LA and pass by. And forgive me if I say this, I thought it was the most terrible place. It was vapid and empty and superficial and pretentious and things like that. Nothing bad, but just a general feeling. So I was really surprised early in 1990, a call from Dan Melnick, who's Steve Martin's producer, saying, Steve's written the script for a comedy set in LA, and we would really like you to direct it. I thought, what? So he said, I've sent you a script. Please read the script without delay. Call me back. Tell me what to think. So I read the script. I thought it was, as you can see, this movie. I thought it was fantastic. It had everything. I mean, a lot of stuff in that movie. A lot of ideas, a lot of jokes, gags, situational comedy, earthquakes. Freeway shootout, talking freeway sign, grave digging scene from Hamlet. But also you have this great feeling of magical realism that anything could happen in this thing. So I thought about it and I thought, why me? I mean, I had worked in British television and at 16, I started in documentaries, then I did some serious movies, like really serious, like Treasures and all.
Any Threads fans here tonight?
No funny.
Yeah.
And I'd done one which hadn't come out at that point, one low budget movie in the States. So I was really unschooled in the way of Hollywood, and I didn't realize what I was about to say when I called Dan Melnick back, which is, I pass on this. I really don't think I'm the guy to do this. And it was a wonderful movie, and I thought, this is such a beautiful script. I don't think I could improve on this at all. I've done these serious movies, they have light-hearted beats in them, but they're serious movies. I don't know comedy, and I don't know LA. So I called him back and said, I think it's a fantastic script, I love it, I would love to watch this movie when it's made, but I don't think there's anything I can add to it, and I don't know about LA, I'm from out of town. He said, that's why we want you to do it. I said, well, you can get someone like Mike Nichols or any of those comedy directors like they know LA and they know comedy, and he said, I think speaking for him and Steve, it's because you're an outsider. Steve's an outsider. He wasn't born in LA, he was born in Waco, Texas, and he is kind of looking at this as an outsider. The plot, the romantic plot, is about an English woman who comes to LA, kind of cynical about it, and gets to love it. Why don't you, they said, get on a plane, we'll fly out here to LA, and we'll talk between you and Steve and see if you want to do it then. So I flew out. Steve was wonderful. He was very gracious and collaborative, and we talked and we drove around in his car. And he introduced me to LA. What I didn't realize was that it's a double love story. It's a love letter to his new wife, Victoria Tennant. He recently married her, who plays Sarah in the movie. And it's a love letter to LA. And we did this drive around endless streets and things in LA. He showed me the LA he loved and why he loved it. And he showed me Melrose and the view from Mulholland Drive at night and Taylor Park. And we drove around streets of houses that were built on identical lots. Same size, same shape, and everyone was different in some way. And he said, I can hear the passion in his voice, the affection in his voice. This is what I love about it. Everybody goes west, Manifest Destiny and all that. And this is where the dreams end up. You can't go any further west than LA without getting wet in the ocean. So everything ends up here, you get this kind of mass density of dreams. every house is different from every other house. That's what he was saying. You know, with baronial castles in Scotland and French farmhouses, and all kinds of Greek temples and loathly things. People have just done something to their house to make it different, to make their vision of their life happen here. I thought, this sounds like the sort of movie I really would like to do, rather than just watch. So we drove around and we played some music, we talked about the ideas, and he played a French song from 1946, Charles Trenet, La Mer, which is what opens the movie in titles. And I thought, hey, maybe this is the thing we can do. It struck a chord with me. I happen to love French popular songs from the 30s and 40s. And I thought, you know, Django Reinhardt and Stéphane Grappelli and Hot Club de France. This is a way of bringing my sensibility as an outsider to bear on what I thought was a place with no culture. I thought it was culturally barren. I was wrong. I'm going to bring a European sensibility to it. So, you know, we played some more music in the car, and I could see that through using European music and references to European movies and plays and films and everything, we could bring a different way of looking at LA that wasn't sneering, it wasn't snarky, it was very affectionate. Here are these people doing these crazy things, but let's try and create an aura of sun and ease and nonchalance and insouciance. They're kind of French words, and they mean, you know, throw away. Treat this like it was meant to be, and there's nothing that you can look down on it from a great height with. So we did the movie, and that opening sequence, it has this French song over it. It's a reference to, or it's a slight reference to the opening of La Dolce Vita, Fellini movie, which has a helicopter carrying a statue of Christ over Rome, and girls in bikinis. But it's a hot dog. and when they become children and walk through the magical garden, it's kind of nod to Cocteau, Beauty and the Beast, with a stone fireplace with a, you know, when the stone lions. Yeah. No, I still got one of those in my front garden. So, you know, we collaborated on the movie, and I'm quite proud of it. You know, it's lovely to hear you all laughing tonight after 31 years.
As you mentioned already, the European influence on this movie is very visually stunning, which is not a lot of comedies look like that anyway. Can you talk about the, you know, putting it into the visual style, because it's a very beautiful looking movie. It's very rich. And
well, I think we try to get a painterly look to some of the scenes, like the brunch scene where the earthquake happens and everything else. I was tired of seeing LA as something you only see in police procedurals, Starsky and Hutch and something like that. It's always bright sunshine and it's dark in the alleyways. But I thought, I'm going to try and make this look like lunch at the Bel-Air Hotel on the best summer day you ever had. So I'm collaborating with a marvelous cinematographer, Andrew Dunn, I've worked with before. We constructed a kind of replica of the Bel-Air Hotel behind the Ambassador Hotel, which is not there anymore, but over the swimming pool in the back. We built all this thing with lush greenery, and we lit through camouflage nets, so you get this kind of dappled effect. And Andrew, the cinematographer, sent for silk stockings from Dior in Paris, and we put them over the lens. So you may not see the effect, but you know, especially in that slow motion bit where the waiter comes and he pushes her out of the way, and it's the first time he touches her. I think you get that effect. You could almost be looking at an impressionist painting. So that kind of thing. And all these movie references, like the magical wind, you know, is Tarkovsky. It's like out of the mirror. And when he skates through the black through the art gallery, there's a cup that he goes past. There's a marble dust looking that way, and then it's looking this way on the jump cup. Exactly the same as Eisenstein does in Battleship Potemkin. It sounds very precious, and you don't need to get those references. It's just that this thing is so full of ideas and full of comic gags and things that aren't comic, that are actually quite tender. It's a rich fruit cake. It's like a cabinet of wonders. And if you get these little flavour bombs of, oh, I get that reference, oh, I get that. It just makes it more rich for that one person who gets those things. It doesn't matter that nobody else gets them. So.
you know, this movie has broad satire, but it also has very tender, like, romantic comedy and, like, some well-done drama. Can you talk about how, as a director, you're trying to balance all those things?
Yeah, I didn't. That's important because there's so much stuff in here, and it's physical comedy, and it's gags, and it's puns, and it's wit, and it's also emotion. There's no way you can find a style that fits all of those. Instead of which, I try to get a tone, a mood, which is, as I say, it's ease and throwaway, and not looking down on people. I think when you watch this movie, you don't come away with a snarky feeling about anybody. It's not unkind to anybody. It laughs at their foibles, but it kind of surrounds them with this warmth of music and art references and so on. And the performances are great, you know. Steve is a man of prodigious gifts. At the time we shot this, he had a gallery named after him in Blackburn, which is how we got permission. That's really the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, and he's really skating past priceless paintings. We negotiated with the museum, and I remember at one point one of the people we were negotiating with to get permission said, nervously, "Will it be the trustee who's doing the skating?" I said, yes. But Steve is so dedicated to his art, or arts I should say, because he's got these prodigious gifts. He knew he was going to have to skate through it. I mean, he wrote it anyway. He skates through the museum. But he spent weeks with knee pads and elbow pads outside his house in Beverly Hills, falling and hurting himself just so he could do that scene perfectly. And he does it like an Olympic speed skater with the arms. And no paintings were harmed in the making of it.
It'd be a different movie if that were. You've been talking about Steve. What was it like working with Steve the writer versus Steve the actor?
Well, he was the actor, but he was also the writer. This movie took him 7 years to write, on and on. And he went through it again and again and again, which is why I was so impressed by the script. I thought I was nothing I can do to help this. Hopefully I found something that I could. But it's not like the other movies he's been in where he hasn't written it. Like he did a David Mamet movie called The Spanish Prisoner. He did Pennies from Heaven for Herbert Ross, and he did various movies in which he's not the author and he's not playing a comedic role. In this, he wrote everything for himself. He wrote all the lines for himself, the actions for himself. And I thought, there is nothing I can do except get out of the way. I would occasionally urge him in one direction to do so, but no more than that. And to try and get the performances that surrounded him to match that, because he couldn't do better than that. He's lived with his character for 7 years. He's lived with the gangs for 7 years. So.
That's amazing. Now, besides Steve, this film is filled with all kinds of wonderful actors, character actors, and cameos. Can you talk about the casting process and bringing all those people together?
It's a bit like, well, it used to be with Woody Allen, that everybody wants to be in a Woody Allen movie. Maybe not quite so much. But you only have to say, such is the affection that Steve has in the community, you only have to say, would you like to be in a Steve Martin? And before you say the word film, they're inking the contract. He has great Rolodex. All these people are his friends, or kind of his peers. And Mindy Marion, the casting director, was great, one of the best I've worked with. It's she who suggested George Plimpton for the straight weatherman. But so everybody's lining up to do cameos, like Woody Harrelson, Chevy Chase, and Rick Moranis, everybody. I have to say that the IMDb cast list gets these wrong in one respect. Sarah's mother at the other end of the phone, when she's playing the tuba piano duet, that's not Terry Jones. And the freeway shootout, the one with the gold gun said, "You little cover!"
Everyone talks about those Hitchcock cameos, but I think you might have one of those vocal ones. Now, I think what got a big response was seeing Patrick Stewart in this, in his little role.
Sorry?
Patrick Stewart is the maitre d'.
Yeah.
The audience kind of got a big kick out of it because I think they're
Well,
used to.
in that scene in the restaurant, we had MC Shan, who's a genuine rapper, doing the menu. He couldn't get over the fact it was Patrick Stewart. I'm doing a scene with the Captain of the Emperor.
Now, there was obviously, because of probably the nature of it, there was a wealth of material. What was the editing process like in putting this film together?
Well, Richard Harris, who went on to get an Oscar for Titanic, edited this movie splendidly, I think. I like things like when the two couples are in bed in Santa Barbara at the Pollo Del Mar, and there's a fizz sound as they're two fixed bubbles disappear. It comes with the champagne glass fizzing. Or when, this is an example of how great and Chaplin-like Steve is in physical comedy. The scene where he's found out that his living girlfriend, Marilu Henner, has been unfaithful to him. And you see this back view and this kind of tragic music playing on the violin, he's walking away from him dejected. Halfway down, his body language changes to a woo! And he leaps in the air and lands at the freeway sign. Right? So a lovely edit. But are you talking about stuff that you have to take out?
Well, no, I'm just talking about the process because, like, well, we can get to that too. Was there any material that was cut out of this movie?
Massive. Steve has this theory. I mean, he has many theories about comedy, which I learned from him. One is you put in 12 ideas or scenes or gags more than you need, more than there is time for, at least 12. So you don't know until you actually run the movie with a live audience like this, which are the ones that get the biggest laughs, and which are the ones that just die. And that tells you, obviously we take that out. But you know, there's some scenes which I really miss. Obviously, if anybody has seen the kind of anniversary editions of this movie with the commentary, you've probably seen the missing scene of John Lithgow, who plays this super Asian, and Mike Ovitz type super Asian, Harry Zell, who goes to meetings with a jetpack on his back, with a little H on the sidewalk, and the ballet parkers take his jetpack. That was wonderful, but when you are running along, it's often very difficult to find things you could easily take out. A lot of things we took out, I can see why they came out. There was a subplot of the guy who lives next door to Harris, the boxer, and his girlfriend, and their kind of drama was playing in parallel with his. That was great. It was wonderful. Scott Bakula played the boxer and very affecting, but that easily came out without affecting anything else. There were odd shots that came, odd gags that came out, like the earthquake. One of the people in an original version who was in the restaurant in the front seat when the earthquake started was Angelina. Remember Angelina? So one of the first signs that the earthquake was about to happen was that her breasts started. To lose that.
Now, when the movie was done and put out, do you remember the initial reaction to when this movie was released?
Yeah. It was sad. 2 years ago, it was the 30th anniversary, and both Sarah Jessica Parker and Steve Martin did interviews. And Steve tells it very well. We thought we had something really good here. We thought, it's hard work, but we worked hard and imaginatively to make this movie. And I remember you showing Steve and his producer my first cut. They hadn't seen it. There were 4 people in the screening room. Steve and his producer, Dan, sat in the front row. I sat behind with the editor. And we ran it, and halfway through the opening sequence, he turned around to me and gave me a big thumbs up, like so. And we thought at the end of this is really a good movie. It's a bit long, we've got some more cuts to make. Let's put it in front of an audience. So we went and screened it for a test audience. I can't remember where. And it didn't get the laughs. And there was such a feeling of dejection on both our parts. We really tried our best with this. We got to cut something, so we made further deep cuts until we got a version we thought worked. But we thought it was really going to bring the house down. It didn't. In some of those interviews, Steve said, you can't really judge a movie by what it does on the first weekend or the first week or the reviews that you get. Anyway, we before we put it out there, we ran it with some of Steve's friends, some of whom are in the movie, like Chevy Chase and Rick Moranis was there, and Carl Reiner and Mike Nichols. And and they all loved it. I mean, they had some minor things. Mostly they were thinking how bad a Cockney accent Rick Moranis had. But Carl Reiner came up and said to the two of us, "This is wonderful. This is a piece of art." So, continuing what Steve said in the interview, you don't know until about 10 years afterwards whether the movie stays with people or not. And I can see some of these guys are not topical anymore. The coffee scene, the coffee ordering scene, become a classic, and that was kind of breaking new ground. Nobody ever made fun of that before. But I'm interested, a lot of people here weren't born when this movie went out. 1991, there was the Gulf War, Desert Storm, and the collapse of the Soviet Union, and MC Hammer. That was 31 years ago. Did you laugh? It seemed to me you did.
So we were talking about that you want to kind of ask the audience why this movie kind of endears. So does anyone want to tell Mick why you love this movie? Right there.
The final montage with the weather coming in and the airplanes, that's, I think, maybe one of the best ways that anyone's ever put what being that deeply in love feels like on screen. What was it like to dial that in?
Well, as I said, I try to keep out of the way. I try to do the visuals and let the emotion, which hopefully, I mean, it's near the end of the movie. If it hasn't built up to a point where you're identified with these characters by this point, then something's wrong. Steve said he was inspired by an Irish song, an Irish ballad. There's a lot of Irish melancholy in the soundtrack to Enya and all that Celtic misery. So that does a lot for you. But it's a song about a man whose love leaves him and gets on a boat and sails away, and he sings to her, "If I could, I would turn your boat around, I'd make the wind turn." And so that was the kind of inspiration for the end scene, only we did it with an American Airlines.
All right, is anyone else?
Thank you.
Yeah. In the back there.
Nothing's changed. So and what's funny, really hilarious, and incredibly tight and compact, and covered everything that was still resonant, just from the coffee to the cars to the relationships, and even the quality of the relationships, and the kind of, this nether limbo that everybody finds themselves in. I mean, it's wonderful.
Well, thank you. I think a lot of people feel that he should have made it with Sandy. Sarah Jessica Parker was just amazing. She known really just for either being a child actress or, as she says, being the intelligent best friend of the romantic lead. And she came in for an audition with us, and we tried to read of the scene where she writes Sandy on his palm with her reading with Steve, and it was amazing. I didn't have to give her any direction. I mean, she got it right away, except to say every time the camera turned over, bounce, 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 and action. So I didn't want to catch a moment where she is not in motion, jumping on his back. And I thought she was great.
I mean, as you were saying, that was like the first time she had done a role like that.
Absolutely, and I think that she has said in the interviews that's what got her Sex and the City and romantic, sexy roles like that.
All right, all the way in the back there.
It's interesting. I don't know if you could make this movie now. There isn't a snarky or supercilious moment in it, I think, even though it's funny and at people's expense and at the expense of the ridiculousness. It has a silliness for me, like Monty Python. You may know this, but the word silly comes from the Old English word "seely," which originally meant blessed or happy or lucky. And then it kind of evolved over the years, meaning someone worthy of your pity, and then to something that was ridiculous and nonsensical and absurd. And it's a pity, because I think it embraces silliness in the same way that Monty Python embraced silliness. It's something that makes you kind of blessed. So I hope some of that sense of affection for Los Angeles, despite my starting point, comes over in the movie. I think if you did it now, it would be kind of out of tune. I think it wouldn't have the kind of generosity of spirit that it has.
I think it might be a little too cynical if it was made now, and that's the one thing I
Yeah.
really love about it, because it is probably one of the few movies that is a genuine love letter to this town. I just want to talk about, after you did L.A. Story, you kind of pivoted and you did the Bodyguard after it. Can you talk about, that transition, because you're going from like, a very beautiful satire romantic comedy to a very serious drama.
Well, I learned my lesson from L.A. Story, that you don't turn down something you don't know how to do. It seems to me that an underrated factor in creativity is fear. And I think a good sign is if you feel when you read the script, wow, I don't done anything like this, I don't know how to do it. Brings out the best in you. It kind of puts you in a box where you are uncomfortable, and that kind of. So anyway, a couple of days after LA Story went out, I got a call from Kevin Costner saying, "Saw LA Story. Obviously, you know everything about LA, and everything in this movie I'm going to do with Whitney Houston is set in LA, and you obviously know what we do." Wow. But I don't know how to do. I know how to do a drama. I didn't know how to do a musical drama, and this kind of romantic thriller with songs. And the wonderful thing about it is you can use the songs. She's a singer. Whitney's a singer. You can use the songs to tell the story emotionally, without words. So I thought, I will try in my career to do a comedy, followed by a romantic thriller, followed by a political movie, followed by an action movie, and I went on to do things like Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones. That's the true life proposition that there's a volcano under LA. By ignoring that. The head of the studio came into me when we were in pre-production and said, "I don't want you to be too concerned about the facts." No, but I enjoyed that and learning how to do that movie. I think you should always be challenged in every movie that you do.
And you somehow became the king of LA. You handled a lot of comedy, disaster.
I think in my head is the poet of LA. There is something I've often had to say, no, not often, but occasionally, very kindly to an actor who's putting too much emotion into something, that you don't have to act the whole movie in every scene. You just act it. It's the same with movies and LA. You don't have to put everything that you like about LA or hate about LA. You don't have to put the dark underbelly into every movie that you do. So I've done movies that are kind of really gritty, like an HBO movie about the Martin Charlie feuds. But I've also done Clean Slate with Dana Carvey, which is a comedy. So I think everyone, if it challenges you, it gets the creative juices going. And doesn't mean that you think it's all superficial and you only make superficial, sweet movies. The city is complicated, and it takes more than one movie to tell the story of LA. And I love LA. I've lived here now for 30 odd years, and I wouldn't live anywhere else.